One.
Grand Rising. This is the Straight Talk Morning Show on the Straight Talk Network. My name is Andre Hill. I'm your host, and we have a superpower show today. We're getting to the root of what's really going on. We have Mama Kelly up in the Atlanta area. How you doing this morning, Mama Kelly?
Oh, I'm doing well, thank you, and thank you for inviting me to speak on this very important topic.
Absolutely. We're going to be cutting it today. Hey, Junior, how you doing, man? What's going on?
I'm doing great. It's very nice weather down here in Florida. And we are moving forward on all our ambitions and endeavors. So I'm happy.
And so, you know, we're in some interesting times, and we want to keep our tribe in good mental health and not be freaking out over all these things that are going on. We do have people that are losing their jobs and are being furloughed or not getting checks, and they got to be tripping out, as I say, what's really going on. And so part of what our nation does is we bring logic, common sense, and reality to the equation. And especially with bringing Mama Kelly into, she has a plethora of information of our history spanning over her 80-year period of this planet. So this morning's topic was the National Economic and Security Reformation Act, NESARA. And so I tacked on, here's the real reason why people are losing their jobs and what is our next move. But NESARA started a situation where we were going to have an economic reset. And, you know, so we're going to let Mama Kelly, you know, expand on that, the NESARA, because I've read up on it. I remember hearing about it, but it never grabbed me because my mindset was, okay, this is going to be interesting to see how the banking reset. But Mama Kelly, give us your overview of what NESARA is all about.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for handing the floor over to me. Thank you. Okay, now, like I had explained before, what we are seeing is the symptoms. It's sort of like you go to the doctor takes your blood, you know, checks your everything, all your vitals, and say, hey, you know, this is your problem, okay? But those are all symptoms. He didn't tell you what the real problem was, which was probably something that would require you to do some thinking and readjusting. Okay, so he just gave you the quick fix. Okay, here, I'm going to give you this. All right? All right. Well, as far as the economic system in this country is concerned, we have several assassinations we can look back at. All right. And I'm just going to hit on the ones that most of us are familiar with. And that was the assassination of Abraham Lincoln and the assassination of John Kennedy. Now, what is it that those two had in common that caused somebody hiding behind the curtain to think that they must be assassinated? Okay? Well, it so happens it was the same entity that came after Abraham Lincoln and who came after John Kennedy. And who was that? That was the banksters. The city of London. The banksters who at this point now have dominated the entire world as far as the banking system was concerned, right? The Rothschild banksters. Okay, why do we call them banksters? Because they're gangsters.
Mhm.
Okay, you know, they're straight up gangsters. Now, when you go around shooting down your enemy like that in the street, and then put a whole nother story on top of it, and it misdirect and cover up everything, then you got powerful people behind you. Okay, so what are we talking about? We are talking about the City of London, which houses all the major banks and the insurance companies inside the London. City of London is an entirely different entity from London. Okay, just like Washington, D.C. is not a part of the United States. It is a district which is inside of the United States, but is not a part. They got their own flag. They got all of their own everything. And I'm not sure, are they now able to vote? I know there was some things back in the day, I've been here a long time, where they were fighting to get that vote. Well, anyway, so we're talking about some system that wanted to dominate money, okay? And how and who gets access to it. So these are the banksters, right? And so what happened to bring it to the forefront was back in the 1970s and in the 80s. I think it really started in the 70s. Hey, hey, Jim. Glenn. Okay, back in the 70s and 80s, what happened was some of the retired farmers, the retired admirals, and generals in the United States Air Force and Navy and so forth, returning to what they thought was their retirement on their father's land in the Midwest. And when they went to check it out, it so happened that they realized that that farm didn't belong to their parents anymore. Why? Because there was an illegal bank, a land bank that got started that stole everything and gave out false, loans, and then just closed on the loans and everything. That was a bank, a system that was set up by the Bushes, okay? And so when the admiral, I forget his name, who really started the case, and they actually took a case to the Supreme Court saying, hey, what is this? We're losing all our land. This bank is clearly at fault, but it's not even legal. It's not even legal. And so what is this? You're taking all our land and so forth. And so when they realized, because they took the case many times on the local all the way to the national level, the Supreme Court, and they were blocked everywhere, okay? And so they realized that this was systemic. And by this time, there are a lot of retired admirals and a lot of retired generals and, those military who were in charge of the defense of this country. Okay. So they said, hey, this isn't what we didn't fight for these banksters to be stealing everything. When they realized what the historic situation had been, because they had to dig to find out what the problem was. Then they realized, Lincoln was assassinated, John F. Kennedy was assassinated, and all of this. because the banks were in charge of the whole system called the United States of America. Okay? The people had no power. And so they're fighting for the people, right? This is the military that's done this, all right? Are you getting the picture?
Hey, it's all coming in focus.
Okay. And so when they realized even that those who are sitting in Congress and in the Senate, that they were also not qualified to be sitting there because they had what was called titles of nobility. Now, that in our original Constitution for the Republic, 1776, 1778 Constitution, that it said that no one could serve this country if they had any titles of nobility. Well, now you know that just about everybody in Congress is a lawyer. And that is a title of nobility. They have to, in order to practice in the courts, they have to pass the bar. What is that? British attorneys, what is it? Accreditation registry, British.
Right.
So they work for the crown. And they are, esquires, which is a title of nobility. Right? And see, they didn't even, when they started digging and looked at all of the original information, I'm talking about the admirals and generals of the United States military. When they, started digging, they realized, wait a minute, there was another 13th Amendment. And that's when they found a copy of the original 13th Amendment in a library in some very small town in Virginia. And that's where they found out that, all of the people serving in Congress, were illegal. I think they found 14 people out of 500. Because what the military realized is that they were going to have to change the whole system. And so they tried to get Congress to pass it. They wouldn't, because they knew they were guilty. They all know this.
Wait a minute, hold up, Mama Kelly. Now, this is all coming into focus. First of all, I want to say, hey, Chairman, how you doing this morning?
Grand Rising, everyone. I'm doing fine. My screen had froze on me, so I had to do some manipulating. I learned a little something, but never too old to learn.
Well, we're waiting on. We want to hear what's coming up after this dissertation with 3i Atlas. So hang in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Mama Kelly is hitting on something really serious. So, Mama Kelly. So we know the Zionist Jews is involved.
You can't say that word.
What was okay? So and the Bush family.
Just say Zionists.
Okay, the Zionists. The Bush family was involved, which the elder Bush. Well, we know Prescott Bush, the grandfather of George Jr., was handling the banking system for not only in America, but for Nazi Germany.
Germans, right, yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so that's two groups. What's the third group? There's three groups that's fighting over the banking domination of our country. Is there a third one that you know of?
Well, the Constitution said that the only thing that was lawful, not legal, lawful, for exchange of goods is gold and silver. So if you have a silver certificate, which we had up until the 70s, you can go and put it in front of the bank and they're going to have to pay you whatever that is in silver.
Right.
Right. Well, the Federal Reserve got rid of all that. They called the creature from Jekyll Island when in 1913 they met down there at Jekyll Island, Georgia, right off the coast of Brunswick, Georgia. And that's where they created this creature. And that's why they called it the creature of Jekyll Island. What is it? It's phony money. It's unlawful. It cannot be used. They say it's legal tender, right? Legal is written on. Legal doesn't mean that it's lawful. You see, they fool us with terms and legalese to fool us into thinking, well, let's not go into detail. I could do 2 hours talking about this before I get to the final, which is where we are right now and why everybody is losing their jobs.
All right.
Okay, we're in the reset. You see, this fiat, after a while, you can't play this Ponzi scheme anymore, and our money is a Ponzi scheme. Okay, there's nothing there, but we have the illusion that it's something because we can go and exchange. Okay, well, it's getting to the point where we can get less and less and less with that exchanges, and that's because the dollar has lost its value. There's a whole lot of international stuff going on with that, but we don't have time to talk about that today. This is a long story, but I'm not going into it.
We're gonna do part two.
Here we are now in the reset. It has to happen. It cannot be avoided. But in the end, who is going to dominate? Those Zionists who swore 250 years ago that they would dominate the world, the Zionists now, coming out of, Europe, actually, their home is Ukraine.
Interesting.
So, so these Zionists, there is the Republic, and you hear Donald Trump talking about going back to the Republic where the money had to be either in gold or silver or backed by it, right? And so now, and so Donald Trump has now returned us to the Republic. Okay, good. So now the money has to be reset to go along with that, the going returning to the Republic. Okay. And so it's not the Republicans, because that's another illusion. Democrat and Republican, that they are the same people.
Yeah.
And so that, I'm not talking about that. The difference between a democracy and a republic means that no one's concerns are ignored, and a democracy mob rule. Okay, if I got 51%, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And I ain't thinking about the rest of these people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the republic has to acknowledge the wishes of all people under its domination, or should I say
so real quick, you saying that Donald Trump is returning us to the republic where the people are going to be listened to?
He's trying, but he's working against the Zionists. You see, this battle has been going on in order to even get NESARA passed. There were only 14 people in Congress who were eligible to, but they had to put a gun to first Junior's head, Bush Junior's, and then when he didn't implement it further, they had to go in, and we're talking about experienced Delta forces, experienced, naval, SEALs. They went into the White House, put a gun to Bush's head, and then when he didn't, he signed it and didn't move forward. Then they went in and put a gun to Clinton's head and made him sign it. And so on September 11, 2001, when NESARA was supposed to be implemented, that's when they did that psyop called 9/11 and the destruction, and
Wow.
to keep the country from going back to the republic and having money backed by gold and silver. So you see how long we've been into this. Now we have two Trumps. This is why we get this and this, because they are have opposite intentions. I'm not making any of this up.
He's a Gemini. He's a Gemini.
Alternative news, then you will know that there are two Trumps, or even if you listen.
Yeah.
Today he says this, and today he says, and that tonight he says something else. Well, it's not the same Trump. One is controlled by the deep state, and the other one is controlled by the military white hats who are trying to bring back to the republic. Now, people need to know exactly what is supposed to happen when we go back to the true republic. I'm not talking about a phony going back to that digital dollar they're trying to get us all to accept. No, they call it the central bank digital dollar, so CBD or something, I forget. But we don't want to accept that because we will still be beholden to the banksters. You see, and so everybody mad, but the only way they can get rid of all these people, these disloyal, should I say, unlawful, criminal enterprise that controls all of America, is to shut down these, these organizations. I mean, we have, okay, let's say we have the Department of Justice. Okay, how many levels underneath are there people who never actually were voted for and they've been there 20 years, 30 years? Okay, so those are the people who are in there who really run the show. And they're used to running the show by the rules of those who have been in charge, which is the banksters. And you have to remember that these people are paid handsomely. They go into office. That's on every level, local, your mayor, your city council, your state governors, and all of they're all there. They have to get money to be to win an election. And so where do they go? They go to the Zionists. They the ones with the money.
Ooh, it's happening right here in my hometown, Tampa. I ran for mayor for 5 minutes because the mayor incumbent stated, sending out a message to the black voters that she didn't need their vote this time. I said, oh, really? So I posted up to run for mayor. In 1 week's time, my car was crashed to the point where it spun around 360 degrees. And they knew I was going to the Zionists. They knew that, but we got some local people with what is it, skinfolk and kinfolk that's taking some of the Zionist money to run for get in position to do the same crap over and over again. But go ahead, Mama.
Yeah, so that's it. And those that we think are working for us, the so-called what is it, the Black Congressional Caucus, they don't work for us. If they had worked for us, we would have seen some change all this time. How long have they been? About 70 years, 50 years, 70 years. We've had so-called, some of them been there that long. What's that woman's name out there in California? Yeah, I saw her, one of her clones one time.
Maxine Waters?
Maxine Waters.
Waters. Yeah. I saw one of her, I was sure that was a clone. And she was standing behind Nancy Pelosi. And
Yes.
announcing some, sinister thing, because you have to realize, maybe most people don't realize that the Democratic Party is the KKK party.
Absolutely.
And the Zionists actually empowered the Democratic Party to actually convince us that we should, vote for the Democrats. You remember we were Republicans, at the time of the proper voting. But now, and so what it is, because can you read off all of those? I was trying to find my.
I got you. Just
read off what our benefits will be when NESARA is implemented. We are working against our own best interests by trying to stop what is happening.
All right, let me read them off for you, Mama. Forgiveness forgives all credit card, mortgage, and student loan and other bank debt due to illegal banking and government activities. Dissolve the IRS and ends all income tax. Create flat rate, non-essential, new items only sales tax. Food, medicine, and all other use items will not be taxed.
So you realize how much money you're not going to pay? Because once you buy, if you sell your used car, there's no tax to be paid on it because it's already been taxed.
Tax one.
And food and medicine and clothing will not be taxed. Those are essential items.
All right.
You see what I'm saying? So go ahead.
Okay, so increase benefits to senior citizens, returns constitutional law to all of the courts and legal matters, retrains all judges and attorneys in constitutional law, provides
Stop there.
Okay.
Constitutional law. See, they're not trained in constitutional law. They're not.
That's why we keep getting jacked.
They don't go by the original Constitution.
All right.
Okay, they go by the 1871 Constitution, which is the Constitution of the Vatican that put everything under corporation. This is when the corporation called the United States Inc. was created, to be a corporation instead of a republic. Okay, let's go ahead.
All right, so provides for new representational elections with constitutional law, monitors elections and prevent illegal activities of billionaires and special interest groups. So now that make me think about the Donald Trump, which is a Gemini, two people. So 1 week is this, and next week is that. All right, ends the Federal Reserve System and begins a new U.S. Treasury bank system that follows constitutional law. So, Mama Kelly, that was the one they killed Kennedy over, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Because he was going, in fact, those bills are still sitting up there, over there in, I think it's Indonesia. where he had made a pact with Sarko. What was his name? I forget. He was the premier of Indonesia. They printed those gold-backed, silver-backed dollars then.
Wow.
1970, 62, 63. They were about to implement the new money system, or should I say the lawful money system, not the legal, but the lawful one. Okay, and they did it, they took him out.
So, all right, so it says create new U.S. Treasury currency backed by gold, silver, and precious metals, ending U.S. government bankruptcy. This will initiate global economic reform, restores financial privacy, cease all aggressive U.S. government military action worldwide, and leads to peace throughout the world. Enables release of over 6,000 patents of suppressed technology and enormous sums of money for humanitarian purposes.
Yes. Now, all of this was ready to go on September 11, 2001.
Mm.
So, what is that, 24 years or 20 years?
Yeah.
Additional years of fighting since 1865. Was that when Lincoln was still?
Yes, he got assassinated.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So, it's the process. And that's why it has taken so long, because these Zionists are so embedded. See, they have these MAGA Christians who really don't really realize who that so-called Yahweh is, that Jesus. They don't realize who he is.
Yeah.
And I certainly am not going to say, we can't, it's a whole lot we can't say now. So this whole thing about the First Amendment, freedom of speech is gone. Second Amendment, the right to arms. Okay, but what about these drones that can send in after your ass? You know what I mean? So,
Got that right.
so all of that, we just have to know what's going on, and we have to help instead of working against. See, and our people, they're just looking at, okay, well, I lost my job. They don't know why. And so they're just blaming, okay, well, this is Trump and Elon Musk. I don't like neither one of them. They ain't our friends. But what they are doing is absolutely necessary. They got to take that deep state down.
Yes, indeed.
Unless y'all want to be financial slaves forever.
Hold up, Mama Kelly. Let's spread the wealth on this one now. Get your thoughts back together. Chairman, what do you think about all this? You were here doing all of this, from the John Kennedy murders and stuff. So and the technology that the ETs gave us, and what's your thoughts on all that?
I'm like Mama Kelly, she just laid it all out on the line. It's so much corruption and control, you almost don't have any power against it, because if you try to go against the grain, they kill you.
They'll kill you.
They kill you right away. And they know what's right and what's wrong. But I feel that goodness has got to prevail, it's got to prevail. And I think with this 3I/Atlas, it's going to bring some changes on this planet that man has never known. Absolutely. And I think it's going to be for the benefit of us all, because somehow we were put on this planet, and now they're coming to redeem, us, because it's not right. They're human like we are. but they're more human. They have more compassion, but they had to let us go through these trials and tribulations in order for us to recognize what is really going on. You know, we all got the same amount of power. We're all God's children, and it's got to change to benefit everybody. And they don't want that to happen. You know, it's like they're not even telling you a lot of things that's happening with this three-eye atlas. You know, they even involving the government military force on it now, letting them know. But what do they think they're going to do? They already then shot down extraterrestrials and got some of them captive live. You know, they got kinfolk too somewhere that are much more, powerful than what we are. But they've given us more than enough time. So you're going to see some changes in the near future that's going to blow your mind.
Absolutely. Hey,
And that's what the reset is all about.
yeah.
And the three-eye atlas is about elevating the consciousness of the people.
Yes.
Now, what according to once the NESARA is released, that means that they will give us all the money back that the banks took from us and all the taxes that were taken from us. So what does that mean? We'll be rich.
Absolutely.
Do you believe you're going to be rich? See, our problem is we can't grasp the idea mentally and emotionally and physically and spiritually that we can be wealthy. Well, we were always wealthy up until now. Even before they came, I mean, look, we were living well.
Yes.
Yeah.
These cities were here.
Well, hold on, Mom Kelly. Hey, Junior, did they teach you this in school?
Nah, by the time I got in school, what you asked was a good question because I ask a lot of the youth now. I forget how old I am. I'm almost old enough to be a grandfather myself, but I got a lot of I got peers who got grandchildren anyway. But I have a lot of friends with children, and they like godchildren to me. I got good relationships with them, and I ask them what they learn in their school. Right, I ask them, periodically, about every other year. I ask them, just to see if they'd updated the curriculum, the matrix curriculum that they're teaching them, and the social studies and history part of the curriculum is a good portion of where the psyops is working. Saying that to say this, by the time I was in school, and what they're still learning now is just a cupcake illusionary version of what's really happening in this world. But yeah, I want to touch on what Mama Kelly and Chairman was saying. And because I got a feeling that you're gonna ask me what did my generation think about what's going on.
Telepathy.
So out of all of the possible outcomes that could have happened at this day and age, and so what did happen and what it is, what kind of state of mind and spirit it has put my generation in. What we're primarily thinking about is if we are capable of obtaining that fake fiat, we only want to obtain it in order to convert it into some type of currency or trading instrument that has true intrinsic value. And even shockingly, me being in the environmental industry, I tend to see people from my generation, from every race, who are very adamant about getting rid of the idea of illusion of trading a interim piece of whatever for our time and energy and resources. That idea is going away slowly but for surely. Because I've been gauging and observing my generation on how they want to go, how they want to live in the future. When I say future, I mean the next 10 to 20 to 30 and so on years. And to my surprise, and I mean people from all walks of life, regardless if they got jobs or not, regardless if they got degrees or not, if they've been in their career for such a long time, everybody's starting to feel intrinsically that this system of rat race, matrix style, it can't be done anymore. Can't be done anymore because I'm thinking because everybody is feeling the frequency that the planet and nature is emitting, which is if that type of lifestyle is harmful to the ecosystem, not only of every ecosystem on this planet, but the ecosystem that the planet is within the solar system and the galaxy.
Yeah.
So at this point, everybody's getting the call the same way our bodies will send signal and send instruction to red blood cells, white blood cells to handle an infection. That's the kind of call everybody's getting. That's what it looked like to me. So especially the children who are, let's say, born from 2005 and after, they're a totally different breed. A totally different breed. Only thing they want to do is like, well, this is what they're waiting on. They're sitting back waiting on my generation and y'all's generation to what's it called in construction? Rehabilitate or rehab the foundation. Rehab the foundation because they saying, I'm not going to get up and go to work. How did y'all do that? How did y'all go clock in to pay, to be subordinate under some other human who put his pants on her or her put their pants on the same way that you do and crack some whip because they got some kind of title within this they are not going to do it. They're not going to do it. And so which means and now the parasitic elite, deep state, oligarchs, the banksters, all of them, they watching this too. They're like, we can't even put this game. They're not signing up for this game. Wow. They're not signing up for it because they know they need the consent. They can't, they know they need the consent because otherwise the energy that they're trying to siphon, if there's no consent, then that energy is corrupted. They don't really get the same substance out of it that they're looking for. So saying all that to say this, the next generations, they would rather do this. I mean, because I'm starting to see a lot of suicidal people from that later generation, meaning they don't care about checking out. They be like, oh, no, this world ain't even worth it. I'll go back to where I came from. I came here to have a good experience. Like the rides are broken at this park. They're broken. I mean, if I'm gonna die, I don't want to die on that roller coaster. I'll just do it myself. That is what a lot of them are thinking. Wow. And so then they're not willing to get caught up in this matrix. And so saying that to say this, and I'm laying this plane pretty soon. So the source of all this corruption, the source of the matrix, the wizard behind the curtain in Oz. I just to say it straightforward, when we wrote the book Lucifer's Revenge, we went back and we revealed who the origin of all of the Abrahamic religions are, which stems all the way back to what they're now calling the Middle East, and historically what went down over there in that area, which was really just Northeast Africa at the time. It was really what it was, right? Those Sumerians, those Babylonians, those Persians, those out there in the middle of that desert over there. What it looks like, I'm just gonna say it straight. What it looked like was there was an agreement, some type of treaty agreement, intergalactic, whatever you want, interdimensional, whatever we want to call it, that was made between our melanated, highly advanced ancestors and some other species. I'll just say it straightforward. It looked like some reptilians. That's what it looked like. That's what it looked like. And I'm not making that up. They've got the artifacts to prove it. If anybody wants an idea of what I'm talking about, just go look up the Ubaid reptilians. the UBAID reptilians. But what you find is some figurines look very humanoid, but they also look very reptilian. And where you'll find them is in or where they found, where archaeologists found them, is in the same place where the city of existed, which eventually became Babylon, and which eventually became Persia. And that whole regime ended up working its way up into Eastern Europe, and then its way into Western Europe. And like Mama Kelly said, that's a whole nother conversation. We had to do a part 2 on that.
Absolutely. All right. So I want to get this, Mama Kelly, I'm coming right back at you. We talked about what our options are. And so we have an organization, which is your organization, all you melanated people, the United Aboriginal American Republic. And it doesn't matter if you have your own tribe or what have you. What we're doing is synchronizing all of our souls to tap into this higher frequency, because these beings, they're only 6,600 years ago. They breed off of war and destruction and chaos. They're going to keep doing what they do, and the low technology that these ETs gave them with their laser, the missiles, and all that's primitive technology. We, the melanated ones, can tap into a higher technology that will evaporate all of this crap in a twinkling of an eye. But in order for us to get to that level, we have to unify. We have to come together. Doesn't matter, it wasn't your idea, or you older, younger, or you want to be the chief, you want to be the head man. All that's got to go out the window. What it has to be, what at this point in time is a collective effort to tap into a high frequency, saying we don't want this ignorance anymore, and we're willing to understand why we must love each other unconditionally, treat each other the way we want to be treated, and respect no matter what, you tall, short, fat, skinny, whatever, big nose, little nose, all of that is irrelevant. We have something, every individual has something to offer to the collective to create balance on this planet. So that's who we are. They are right now, my son, young people. I sat in on one of his conference calls. Young people saying, yes, I want to join UAAR Nation to get my Aboriginal nationality, because I'm not going along with this dumb crap anymore. So all you young folks, you all need to get with my son. He's going to tell you how to do this, and get with him and get with UAR. Let's raise this frequency and shut this ignorance down. It's as simple as that. Get rid of all the devices, all your beef and all of that. Let's shut it down. Mama Kelly, give us your thoughts before we let the chairman give us that AI report at 3 hours.
Okay. Would you said something about the chairman should do the 3I or what?
No. So I know you had something that you wanted to conclude about what's our next move?
Okay, well, you just said it. We have to tribe up. Okay, and very often it's very difficult and sometimes almost impossible to get your own family to tribe up with you. And so you end up having to come together as far as, like minds. And we have to organize under a particular umbrella. And we have to be very careful, because we cannot allow those people who were selected to be our leaders. We can't let them come in to try to lead us back into captivity, because this is what it is. If we get led back into the central banking digital dollar, then we will be slaves again, but we won't be the only ones. Everybody here will be a slave.
Right.
Okay, and we have to address the fact that they're doing it, and this is a whole nother topic we need to focus on, because this is something that they're doing in our neighborhoods. In order to monitor us every move we make, they have to build big data centers. And those data centers are positioned in our neighborhoods, and they emit so much toxins, that they poison the environment that we're in.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, we like AI and all that. Some folk do. I'm not crazy about it. But, the thing about it is, in order to keep all that information, they have to store it somewhere. And at this point, the only place they can store it, is these data centers.
Yeah.
And that is the end of our communities, because that's where they're going to put them. That's where they're putting them all over the place. I know here in the Atlanta metropolitan area, we are fighting them everywhere, because they're trying to put them everywhere in our neighborhoods.
Mm.
Okay. So look, that's the last thing we want, is to continue to go in this direction.
Oh, okay.
Matter of fact, I think I think what you just said, Mama Keller, is really important. When we really think about it, those data centers are essentially the beginning of what it looked like on that movie, The Matrix.
Absolutely. I've been thinking about that. I said, dang. I mean, when they put those huge places up, emitting all that smoke and toxins and everything, using all the electricity and water, and that they want drinking water. They want to use drinking water, so that cuts down the amount of drinking water that we all have. I mean, our folks. So,
But
yeah.
they know when you cut the water off, you cut life off. But Mama Kelly, we're gonna lead into from the NESARA to the JSARA next week, and we're gonna explain how this will have a global effect. But Chairman, the 3I, I'm getting really weird. My telepathic abilities have increased tenfold. I can predict somebody's getting ready to call me and think about me, wait 3 or 4 minutes ahead of time, and I get a phone call. I mean, so what's going on with 3I?
Yeah, with that 3I, right now we're only about 5 days away from perihelion. That means the closeness to the sun. And the way the scientists that are against calling it a space probe, they're saying that it's a comet, but there's no evidence of it really being a comet. There's no tail. There's signs that it's erratic. It's actually slowing down right now, you know. And the point is, you're getting too many mixed messages. But then also, like I say, by it slowing down, getting closer to the sun, there's no what you call it, sublimation, that change from ice to steam. It's not blowing off any of the particles that are on this object that they see. I call it a spaceship. That's why you're not seeing anything blowing off, because when we send a spaceship out in space, we don't have pieces falling off, because that would destroy the object itself, So a lot of things they're not telling us, when they had that camera from the high rise on Mars, when it was observing, what was going on. They got information, but they're not telling us. And it was really convenient for them to shut the government down, because you had a lot of government people that were on these projects, observing, getting all this information. But now they shut the government down, so we can't get no information on what's going on. China knows some things that we don't know, and they're not cooperating anymore. They've shut down the observatories, where they don't want anyone looking to see the real spaceship? Because if you got the Webb telescope that can look into other galaxies and almost can't reach the end of the universe because there is no end. But you know, if you could see that far, I'm quite sure you could see 3I very easy. You know, you don't have to continue to play these games and say what it might be. You know what it is. You know, we know it's an object, but it's no doggone comet. You know, there's no signs of it being a comet. They've got so much information on comets, thousands of comets that they've been studying. So they know what it does, you know, but they're not disclosing that. And I think, you know, what's happening right now when it reaches that uh, perihelium, you know, and it gets to that point where it's starting to get on the other half, where eventually it's going to come out where we can see it because it will be past the sun, then that's going to tell us a whole lot. And we got some scientists that are on our side. In fact, two of the top scientists on this planet, Avi Loeb and Mikuku, what's his name? Michio Kuku, you know, they're both saying that these are intelligent, you know, vehicles that are under control, that are doing things that we should be able to recognize that it's alien, and the technology is there. It's and they're not afraid to tell you, but there's some people that don't want you to know, and it's got to be known, you know. And when they see it get to the other side, I think it'll be sometime in December, because this vehicle is moving at 130 miles an hour. That's how fast, but that just shows you how vast space is, that it's going that fast and it still haven't passed the sun. You look at the sun right now and it looks like you can hold your fist up there and say, okay, the sun is that big. But no, that's a deception. The sun is so huge, you know, you got a million Earths you can put in it, you know. But a lot of things are coming together and it's going to be revealed. And we just have to be patient because they're leaking a little bit of information, a little bit at a time. But these two scientists that I talked about, they're letting it out. They're letting it out. And
All
I'll
right,
land that plane.
hey man, well we need to know, you like the weather forecaster now. We need to know how it's coming. And so we're experiencing another technical issue here. I had to switch to another screen because my screen just froze. You know, this thing got too deep. But anyway, Mama Kelly, what are your closing thoughts leading up to next week's subject?
We have to change our minds. Okay. I see my people, especially those who are supposed to be really educated, you know, those who've got these advanced degrees and all of that. You know, I see too many of them so miseducated that they cannot help us at all. But will they know that they can't help? Do they? Will they choose the side of the deep state where they feel comfortable because they had a position or a title? Will they actually realize what's really happening right now? Or will they stay with the slave, the slave holders? They may, I mean, they house niggas, you know, and they might be happier staying in the house, which is, that's their business.
Yeah.
You know, but at the last minute, they'll also burn when the house burns.
They're going down. And Muhammad Ali said they're going down in 5, and that ain't no job. So, so Mama Kelly, that's a very critical piece you know, we're going to be getting deeper and deeper, and go to UAARnation.org. For you young folks that are waking up to this reality, and you want to do something different, get in touch with my son. Reach out to him, leave a message, and on the website. He's signing your generation up to make a difference, so that we can collectively raise to that higher frequency, because you're not going to shut this ignorance down getting a bullet and matching up with their bullet. They got 300 years advance notice on you. So we gonna have to go. What did Michelle Obama say? When they go low, we go high. We got to go high to the high frequency with the guardians that created the original humans, melanated humans on this planet. Hey, on that note, I'll let Junior close us out, man. I'm looking forward to next week. Mama Kelly will be bringing it.
Yes,
and the chairman. This is what you get when you join our nation. You get this wisdom. Mama Kelly's historical critical thinking with the chairman. Chairman can build anything. I've seen his work. He's an artist. and of course, my son is the astrologist and Juris Doctor. You got a heck of a team here, and we got 15, 20 of them more people upper management with expertise. So go to UAARnation.org. Get with us. Get with my son. We give you access to Mama Kelly, the chairman, and the rest of our elders, our council of elders, for guidance and leadership. Go ahead and close it out, man.
All right. It's been a wonderful Straight Talk Network show. I enjoyed it. As always, we love y'all. Peace out. We'll see you next week.
Right on.